Hello, my name is Sondra Peron. I'm Professor of Arts and Humanities here at Springfield Technical Community College. I'm also Program Coordinator for the Fine Arts and the Gallery Coordinator for the Amy H. Carberry Fine Arts Gallery located in Building 28. The Carberry Gallery strives to foster intellectual engagement and dialogue beyond the traditional classroom by breaking preconceived notions of a gallery as an exclusive space. One function of the gallery is to share who artists are and what they create, and to inspire students to pursue their creative endeavors and career goals. Fine arts courses are open to everyone here at S.T.C.C, and the importance of visual literacy to every student's overall educational experience cannot be understated, no matter their major. I originally conceived of these virtual Carberry Conversation interviews in response to the pandemic and Zoom, which most of us were on back in the fall of 2020. Each interview covers various topics, including origin stories, impact of current events on artistic process, and the function of art. I continue to offer this virtual format to keep gallery programming fully accessible to everyone, and while creating an archive for these conversations available on YouTube as a community resource. Today, I am super excited to be speaking to artist Kahli Hernandez, the world famous Artoonist. Kahli was born in Brooklyn and raised in Springfield. He grew up with a -- 2 pencil and copy paper, which we will hear more about. During high school and college, he widened the door to mixed media and expanded on new ways of expressing himself. Saturday morning cartoons fused with various art styles resulted in a cartoonish blend of characters, bold black lines, a touch of graffiti, vibrant, playful colors, and biblical themes. Media currently used includes acrylics, oils, and aerosol paints. So, welcome, Kahli.
Ooh,
Welcome.
yeah, thank you so much, Sandra.
Well,
Thank
no,
you.
this is my chance to thank you for
Mhm.
transforming the
Mhm.
gallery into this one-of-a-kind immersive space, which
Yeah, no, yeah,
which we're gonna unpack a little bit here,
yeah, yeah.
because it's really amazing what you did, and we want to peel back a little bit on like how you did it.
Mhm.
So, but before we get to that, I do want to just do a shout out for the gallery so everybody knows where it is. It's
Mhm.
located on our campus on the Pearl Street side of campus in Building 28. It is always free and always open to the public and
Mhm.
accessible. And we are very privileged to have a fine arts degree program that's associated with this space, that students can get their associate's degree in arts and liberal arts transfer. And there is more information on the STIC website about all of that. And certainly people can reach out to me if they are interested in finding out more. Um, but we are here to talk to
Mhm.
Kahli about your origin story. Can we start
Oh
there? Should we
gosh,
start at the beginning? Like
where
I
do we?
started with some questions. Here were my
Yeah.
like one of my questions is like, do you have a first memory of seeing art or realizing
Mhm.
that an artist's like work maybe was impacting you?
Mm. You making me dig deep. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm like I always like tell a story about how I see. I've seen art. As a kid, little seeing graffiti on the side of buildings, on trains and stuff like that. I always say that. But I was thinking about last night. Like my mom really like my mom would draw,
Mhm.
so like that was like the introduction. But I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything of her drawing because she did it so much and she had us do it. So it was like my mom was very crafty. She would have us make. She would make stuff. She would bake. Like she would do all this crazy like artistic stuff, right? I didn't know, I didn't have a word for it then, right? And I'm 2 or 3 remembering this. So it's like she would just have us doing things. I even still have like this notebook she used to have us like practice drawing, like not even drawing, writing letters in. I still have my kindergarten notebook with like all the pages of stuff that she had us practice. So like technically that would be like the first introduction to drawing, technically.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
she had me tracing, my name because she found out I didn't know my letters. So she'd
Uh,
be like, point to letters.
Yeah.
in the order of the alphabet, like when you would sing it, and I would
Yeah.
get it right. And I'm like, yeah. And then she would go out of order. She was like, this little boy, I think he's tricking me. And she point out of order, and
Hmm.
then I'd start singing the song, and she said, oh my God, he don't know his ABCs. So she had
Oh,
me start tracing and learning. So it was like,
yeah.
I would say that is probably like the prime, right? Kali
Okay.
prime,
Okay.
artist prime form, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
tracing letters.
Okay, that was your birth, right? So,
Yeah, that
so
was,
on
yeah.
the screen here, what are we looking at? We're looking at a variety of artwork that's
Oh gosh.
very early. What? So, can you describe some of this work? Like, I'm seeing some
Yeah.
things that are like recognizable in terms of like instruments that are
Yeah.
very bold and almost like rounded.
Yeah.
And then other things that like have like letters that are like, as one of them says Soul Festival,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like lined with black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Where is this from?
this is from, I would say, my first run of being a official, like trying to come out as an artist. And that was, oh gosh, 2021. So
Mm,
in 2021, I like committed wholeheartedly to become a visual artist as a career. Like, and this is just I called it a buffet of art, right? It's a buffet of art of me just trying different styles to see what people like. Because I was like, I gotta sell some artwork. Like, I gotta figure it out. Like, I gotta figure out what people like. And
yeah.
it's like, it's so funny because a lot of this stuff actually has sold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think a good, no, all of it did,
Okay.
except for the
Okay.
two, the Jazz Festival and the Jazz Roots, and
Okay.
the Indie Soul Festival.
Yeah.
And if you look in the top left corner, so that's my Spirit Fruit series, and they all have to do with the fruits of the spirit: joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness, love. And
Yep.
I would make these characters that were kind of like Keith Haring-ish vibes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I was just playing with forms because I didn't know what I wanted to like commit myself to.
Right.
And I really loved playing with the forms and the figures, and like letting it live and be like this geometric mashup of like color and just form. And I was like, okay, I did that for a little bit. It actually, like, people really loved it, and I was
Yeah.
surprised that I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't think I have any more of those pieces left,
That's
to be honest.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. So we're on to another page here. How is this different from the first group of work where you,
So so I like to play around. I think the oldest drawing on here is the one dead center on the top row.
okay. Yep. What are we looking
Um,
at?
that was a commission I did for one of my coworkers. His name is Ivory. I
Okay.
lost his number. I gotta find it again because he's trying to buy another piece. He paid me $100 for that. It took me a year to make because I conceptually didn't have the ideas down. So it just
Mhm.
took me really long to come up with the ideas, but the execution was very short. So
Okay, so we're looking at, for those people who can't see the screen,
yeah,
they're actually looking at what appears to be a pencil drawing
yes,
of a man,
on
of a
the throne.
rather muscly man, like
Yeah,
somebody seated that has a like a very Egyptian
yeah,
headdress kind of adornment.
yeah.
It's giving me pyramid.
Pharaoh,
Yeah,
Pharaoh,
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh
Yes, thank
vibes.
you.
Yeah,
That's
Pharaoh
Pharaoh
vibes.
vibes.
Yeah,
Pharaoh
Egypt.
vibes.
and
Yes.
and I think that piece has so many levels to it. Oh my god, because I divided it into the quadrants. So it's like, like when you take pictures on the camera, right, and you separate the quadrants out, and you have
Mhm.
those 9 boxes. That's how I set up this piece,
Okay.
and there's levels to it. So it's talking about like humanity and like the decision between righteousness and sinful nature, and then it's broken up in those three into thirds in every direction.
Hmm.
So like you have
Hmm.
sinful nature over here, you have your fruits of the spirit is actually a bowl of fruit, right? That's next to him that
Oh, yes,
represent the
yes.
fruits of the spirit. The
Hmm.
dog represents your sinful nature, how it's attached to you, and how it can control you if you let it. And
Hmm.
then it's like if you go from top to bottom, you got your godhood, Jesus Christ, and then you move down to humanity. Then you have the adversary, the devil, or whatever you want to call it. And it was just something that I kind of was just playing with conceptually, and it turned out great. If I did a bigger piece of that, I would probably, I don't know. I don't know how long it would take me to do
And
that.
more than $100.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And
But
then some of the other works that are on this page have like a Japanese anime
yes, oh
kind
my
of
gosh,
feel to
I'm
them,
I'm a
right?
nerd. I'm a nerd,
They
admittedly.
have like that animation quality.
Yeah,
You know, there's some action, there's some
yeah.
color,
Movement, dynamic
movement. Yeah, there's a
movement.
lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a variety, right?
yes. I
Um,
I try to do things that I like and that I'm into, and
mhm,
then incorporate that into my work. So like we have, big franchises like Initial D, um, Gundam. You got Demon Slayer,
mhm,
MF Doom.
mhm,
The Sun and the Moon was actually inspired by another anime called Soul Eater.
mhm,
That's another one that I was inspired by.
mhm.
And it
So
was just
some stuff is appropriated then, right? Like some stuff,
yeah, yeah,
like you see it, you're like, I like that. I like
yeah.
that artist style. I'm gonna take that and then I'm gonna do something else with it, right? I'm
Yes,
gonna.
yeah, and it's almost like a fan art
Mhm,
almost.
mhm.
It's
Yes.
like I want to see if I did it, what would it look like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
kind of like exploring myself a little bit and
Mhm,
just like
mhm.
how my interpretation and perspective of these characters or these things and how can I make it my own.
Right.
Some
Right.
stuff is just outright, it's blatant, right? It's like this is definitely it, but it's like the style of it might be a little
Mhm,
different,
mhm.
and
So
the
this,
approach. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, I'm sorry to cut you off.
yeah,
In your interview with Cara Flores during the
yeah.
Hake event, back on February 24th, you had mentioned one of your major influences.
Yes, yes.
Can
It's
you
so
talk a
oh,
little bit about what Jean-Michel Basquiat means to you?
so it's so many levels. It's like levels of emotion, and like I had to go through this whole process of like breaking down what he was actually doing. And at first it was just all hate. At first it was all hate. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I was a purist and I was like, no, skill and technique is the no. No, there's
Mhm.
levels to it because your pathology and your ideas, your concepts, they matter so much more, and the meaning of the piece means so much more when there's an emotional connection to it, and it's not just a one note like, oh, this is really good, you drew a person, right? Like
Mhm.
after photography, people didn't really need to draw people anymore. So it's like, what do you do next? What do you draw next?
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, you can take a picture of somebody and it'll look exactly like them, right?
Right, right.
And
So
if
we're
you look
looking at a very large painting by
very
Basquiat,
long,
right?
yes,
84 inches by 84 inches. Some of your work
sheesh,
is big too.
yeah,
Maybe not 84 inches, but big.
yeah, no, it
We'll
is.
get to that. We'll get to the murals later, but because
Yeah, I try.
bigger. But this is a big painting, right? And
Yes,
he didn't go small. Like he didn't tend to go too small. So
nope.
this is pretty big. And this is from 1983. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, I know, right? You're like, what? It looks so contemporary to me.
Hmm.
Like I
Because
would,
he was ahead of his time a little bit.
yeah,
Like he was a
yeah,
little bit, and he's influenced so many artists, and it's
yeah.
just so interesting to see how like everybody's kind of copying him now. and
Mm-hmm.
and I was like I did like an understudy of his work a little bit,
Yeah.
and it was actually in the show called Something Extraordinary with Dr. Emal. He had
Mm-hmm.
done a
Hmm.
group show at Westfield State University in the Arnold Maurice Gallery, and I was doing the understudy and had been talking to him about it, and I showed him some of the work that was like I was just trying to figure out like how
Hmm.
this works, and also trying to figure out a part of myself as an
Yeah.
artist
Yeah.
and what I was into. And
Hmm.
I kind of slipped into neo-expressionism, or however whatever style you
Hmm.
call it, but that's
Hmm.
just how I recognize it because that's what
Yeah. Well,
showed
this
up.
is really
Yeah,
bold, right? There's a lot of yellow. There's
yeah,
lots of words, right? Like I
and
was
it's
reading up about Basquiat, like he was like, yeah,
yeah,
I'm using these certain words that are obviously signifying certain things, and then
yeah,
I'm putting a line through them because I want people to really try to read them. Because
yeah.
the line through the word then is going to draw more attention to the word.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then even some figures in here, right?
Yeah,
And then, at the very bottom lower left-hand corner with his, his crown, which
yeah,
basically was it's kind of like that's his signature, right?
yeah. Which
His
which I love.
his logo, right?
And this piece is coherent, right? It's not. It
Hmm.
looks. It's like a masterful mess. That's the only way I could explain it. Because if you insert any other color, it doesn't work as well.
Hmm.
And I was studying that. I was like, oh wait, he knows what he's doing. Like
Yeah.
the contrast and then the complementary colors, like they work so well together.
Yep.
They don't interrupt each other in a way that's like it's a mess. It's almost like, oh, I can still read this. Like,
Yeah.
and it looks good,
Yeah.
visually.
Let's
So
look at
like,
more of your work.
yeah. So like color
This is more
theory.
of your work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So I this is my understudy I was doing. I was trying to figure out like what was the thing, right? What's the
Hmm.
thing that makes it so cool? And it was because it was so relatable. His work was relatable, right? It's like I can draw that. Like that's something that somebody could say looking at the work. Like I can do that. And
Right,
that
right.
and that's kind of like the pocket that he worked from, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, okay, like these are the elements. Like it needs to look not juvenile, but almost like let's say elementary. Let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
and
But
then
and you're only using like a few colors in each one, right?
mhm,
And
specifically, yes.
most of these are faces, I think. I'm seeing
Yeah,
eyes, I'm seeing maybe hair,
yeah, all
teeth, maybe
characters.
not, right? But
Yeah.
everything is like either faces red, eyeballs white,
Hmm.
pink, blue, like, and you're kind of limiting the palette on most of them, right?
Yes.
Most of,
And
not all, but
yeah,
most.
and the thing with this, I sketched all of these in like a week and a half, I think.
Wow.
I sketched them all in a week and a half,
Mhm.
and I was like killing myself trying to figure out how to make them standalone pieces and
Mhm.
also make them be a chorus together and make
Mhm.
them flow. And
Yeah.
they all have their own story actually, and they all
Yeah.
have their own identity. And that's kind of like what I wanted to do with this, because like I love drawing characters, and I was
Mhm.
like, faces is the most recognizable thing that people are attracted to. So let me
Mhm.
stick with the faces to keep it familiar, and then
Mhm.
play with the colors and make them so vastly different that if they
Yeah.
were apart, but you can still tell that they're similar to something. Like, yo, I've seen this before, but I don't know.
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
familiarity that they have between another, and it's like almost like a family. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you
Yeah.
look like this person, but you don't. But I know you. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
kind of like what I
Yeah.
wanted to do with these pieces.
Yeah. You're also very, very heavily involved in the community.
Oh, I try. I
You,
try. I try.
if there's a chalking event,
Yeah.
Kahli is probably there.
Yeah. 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 Shout out to
Northampton,
yeah. Yes.
Springfield,
Oh, yes.
East Hampton,
I
wherever. Like
try.
this is from Gasoline Alley back in December of 2022. Um,
Yeah.
where you were involved in doing things very, very, you're very much like in and of the community,
Yes. I try.
which is really wonderful. So here's a question I have for you.
Hmm.
As I'm just sort of going through some more of these scenes. This is the show. I think this is the show you were referring
This
to.
is the show I just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Something extraordinary. And it really was. So that piece, I don't know if you can it's right on the I'm gonna say the right of where the actual like flyer is. Uh,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the purple, not the purple, the blue haired lady with the visor.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
did that live in front of NEPM, and they recorded the whole thing. And I was just like, okay, like
No, no
Dr. Ema was
pressure.
like, he was like, yeah, you can do it, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do this all the time, so I might as well, do something interesting. So I ended up drawing that live, and it was on one of their podiums that they had. So they let me like, be a little kid again and
And you,
just do whatever I wanted.
uh-huh. Yeah,
So
that's
that
awesome.
was so much fun. That
That,
project was very, oh my gosh, so many great artists.
yes. So this is a little product. What would you call this? This is what are these
Oh,
heads?
so these are like little collectible Funko Pops. And shout out to Brianna Stover. She actually put me onto them, and she's a great woman. She really is. And I was actually this is a whole story. Let me start from the
Yep.
beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
I was introduced to them by her,
Okay.
and I ended up doing some work for Dr. Emo. I keep bringing him up, but don't worry about it. And we were moving these pieces around. I was doing some studio work for him, and like I'm like, I don't know how much these pieces cost. Like
Mm.
I'm not trying to mess it up. I'm being like super like conservative and like just keep everything pristine. And these were birthed out of just feeling so like, oh, I can't make a mess. I was like,
Mm.
I'm going crazy. I want to, these are collectibles, so you're not supposed to open them. You're not supposed to do, and I'm just like, I'm gonna break all the rules. I'm gonna
Yes.
color on them. I'm gonna open them. I'm gonna touch them. I'm gonna cut
Yeah.
pieces off, and that was just like an outlet for me because I was
So
like,
how
you know
big
what?
how big are they in real life? Are they
So
like
they're
six
like four.
inches?
They're like roughly about 4 inches, 4 to 6
Okay.
inches. So they're like 6 inches,
Okay.
tall, and then they're
Okay.
like 4 inches wide.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they're not that big, but they're easy to work on. And they
Okay.
take me roughly about like, depending on how many I have in front of me, it'll
Yeah.
take me like 4 hours to like finish whatever I have in front of me because I have
Okay.
to come up with the ideas and stuff. But this
Right.
was something I was working on at the time. There was a place called Street Level MMA. Shout out to Unc and Dewan, and I would go in there, and it was like a collaborative space
Mhm.
where you could just go hang out with them, make whatever you're gonna make. It didn't matter what it was. They were like, all right, cool, we have the tools, we'll help you build it.
Yeah.
And this was birthed there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you have your own Kali figure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was the first one I ever made. So I
Okay.
made
But
that one
the paint
first.
is splattered all over it.
Yeah. And funny enough, guess what character that is?
I have
That's
no idea.
that's Jean-Michel. That's Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Oh,
So he has a collectible. And I
okay.
was like, it's only right that I,
Yeah, of course. It is
make a
only right,
version
Kali.
of
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I was reading, and also after listening to Carol Flores's interview with you a couple weeks
yeah,
ago, that you said you had kind of like a late start in the art career.
yeah, I did
What
very late.
why do you think that is? Why?
Um, I was doing a lot of soul searching for years of working jobs and not
Mhm,
knowing who I was, just here and not being confident enough to kind of take the step.
mhm,
And life stuff too, having kids early and figuring that out and being in the court system, trying to get visitation like that, all of that was like just it had me in a bind mentally.
mhm,
And I finally decided I'm like, I'm gonna die one day. I'm gonna die. And do what legacy do I want to leave? Do I want to leave something that's meaningful to me, or like do I want to just be the guy, Tim in accounting, he just showed up to work and that's all they have to say at his funeral. Like he was on time. Like, and I was just sitting thinking about it. I'm like, I have to make a decision, and then I like went, I was just like, I think I was like 20, 28 when I was
mhm,
like, you know what?
mhm,
I got to do something. And
mhm,
ever since then, I've been doing it, and it's been very hard, but
mhm,
it's been worth it in the
mhm,
end. Like it's been worth it in the short 3 years that I've been doing this.
mhm,
I've been doing it my whole life, right?
mhm.
And it's so funny because every time I would take personality tests. I would like you name it, I did it because I was trying to break down who I was, and it
Yeah.
was there the whole time, and it just took me a minute to realize it. And like
Mhm,
a big portion of like what I try to tell younger artists and people is like everything you want to do is already around you. And
mm,
I always think about the force in the seed, right? There's a force in the seed, and you just have to keep the seed in the right environment for it to turn into that. And
mhm,
sometimes we lose our path and we become a tree, but it's not just a tree in us, it's a whole forest, there's a whole ecosystem. And that's kind of like that was the turning point for me. It was just
mhm.
like, wow, like I've been drawn. What do I do on my breaks? What do I
Yeah.
do when when I don't want to pay attention to something?
Yeah.
What do I do? You know what I'm saying? And that was the underlying like thing that I kept digging up every single time. Like
Mhm.
I'm thinking I'm striking gold, but it's like, no, you have the gold in your pockets. Why are you going to look for it?
Right.
And that was the thing.
So we're looking at this screen right now. This is like
Oh,
a huge project. Like,
it
so
was.
basically what we're looking at is a series of pictures. It starts off with basically a blank building
Mhm.
on the upper left-hand side. This is
Yeah.
Worthington Street.
This is on Worthington Street,
This is on Worthington Street
right
here
across
in
from
Springfield.
Dewey's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Um,
said in front of Dewey's?
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
It's right across. So it's a parking lot across from Dewey's, and then if you look to your right, it's on the side of the building where Del Rey's is. I love Del Rey's. Go to Del Rey's. Great food, and
Hmm.
then can't forget Theodore's. Great
Hmm.
barbecue. Great
Okay.
live music. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I'm a
And
shameless plug. Shameless plug.
this great mural. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on that building. So yeah, it's just nothing but greatness all around.
So how many feet?
Oh God.
How big are we talking for the side of this building?
So me and the young lady in the middle of the
Yep.
picture next to John Simpson is
Okay.
Susan, and me and Susan were just hanging out, swinging our legs, 30 feet up in the air, and we're like, "How big is this wall?" So I'm like, "All right, cool." I did the measurements, and it was like 7,000 square feet
Oh,
of space
wow.
on
Okay.
that one wall, and I'm just like, "Dude, this is
How long did it take? So the three of you worked on this?
yeah." Every day, so we worked from Juneteenth until um about August, roughly around August when the jazz festival was. So like
Okay.
maybe like 2 months and like a week or two after,
Okay. What
almost
year
three
was this?
months.
20, was this 2023?
I, hmm,
2022.
I don't know. I just lose track of time. I don't know what year this
Okay.
was,
Okay. But
but it
not that
was
long ago. Not long, not that
it
long
might
ago.
have been 22. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but that wall was whooping my ass every day. Excuse my language, but it was.
Okay.
It was. I was out there. You see that jumpsuit I'm wearing?
Yes.
I wore a navy jumpsuit in June through July into August. I
Uh-huh.
lost so much weight. I was sweating every day. Like, and mind you, I think this was the first mural, like official mural that I worked on. But
Mhm.
it being that size, it kind of like, okay, whoa, like if you can work on this, like
Mhm.
you can do anything, you know? And
Mhm.
it was like, it was a stepping stone, a huge stepping stone, a huge task to take on.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that I got through it. Because there's so
Mhm.
many times, you know, you get out there, you're like, oh my God, I want this wall to be done, you know? And thank you to John Simpson and City Mosaic for allowing me to be a part of this project because it kind of brought, it's so funny because that identity thing, right? The imposter syndrome, it was all while I'm doing this stuff, it's happening, you know? So
Mhm.
like the emotional side of it
Mhm.
and just not, you know, the doubt, the self-doubt was there. But I just was like, nah, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of the Indian motorcycle. And John handed it to me and was like, can you do it? And I didn't know if I could. I'm like, this is the biggest I've worked, like
Mhm.
in forever.
Mhm.
Like I used to draw chalk stuff over on the parking garage right across from Theodore's. We used to get now we used to get so many people to like to see us.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I've done that, like because I wanted to work big. So I'm like, all right, yeah. So he handed it to me. And then
Mhm.
Susan, she has an engineering background too. She gridded it for us. She did all. I'm like, I don't even know how to grid like that. Like,
Yeah.
and she put up the grid, handed me, you know, the paper. I still have it, framed. Funny enough.
Mhm.
And then I just went, and we ended up being on the news the day I was painting that, which was crazy. So
Mhm.
it was like all this stuff is happening emotionally. Like I'm having existential crisis, right? And I have like my, you know, stuff is happening at home, and it's just
Mhm.
like, but that moment kind of like was a breaking point for me
Mhm.
because me as an artist, I wasn't all the way there. I was like 30%, 40% there, like inside, but 100% outside.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like being torn down by people and just saying stuff, and then the
Yeah.
pressures of life. But I'm just like, nope, I have to keep going. And this
Mhm.
project is a monument to like you can get through anything no matter what, you
Mhm.
know. And I really just I could cry talking about all the
Oh,
stuff that, you know, that was going on at the time of this wall.
yeah.
But I ended up making something beautiful, ended up making really great relationships with John Simpson. He's a
Yeah.
really, really interesting dude. He's a professor at UMass, funny enough. And he had
Mhm.
me come out and be a guest speaker too for his class. I was just like, oh my gosh, like all this stuff is happening. Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel like I was, you know, worthy enough or interesting enough for have to be in that position, but I was in that position. And I'm so glad, you know, just if I died today, I'm satisfied. That's
Yeah.
just put it like that.
So the following summer,
Oh,
that must have
whew.
been 2022 because this is 2023 because you didn't do
Yeah,
these on the same summer. Yeah. So this
yeah,
is the
this was.
following summer.
Oh, I'll never forget this. Oh
Yeah. So
man,
this
this is the
so suddenly we're indoors now. This is at
yeah
the PE Gallery, which is on Main Street in
on Main
Northampton.
Street in Northampton.
On
Yeah,
Main Street in Northampton. And somehow you convinced them.
you, the whole story. Yeah, oh, the story for this is so incredible.
Hmm.
So I had a year before I had gone to the gallery. Molly had just got the job that same week to be the co-director.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
showed her my two master's piece that was in something extraordinary show. It hadn't been in the show yet. So I had showed it to her and was like, maybe I could do something here. And she was like, yeah, we don't do solo shows. I was like, I don't know, but if something comes up, just let me know if there's an opportunity. I walked in there. It was nothing in there.
Hmm.
And then time passed. And then I think a week before the deadline, I
Hmm.
had called Molly looking for opportunities. And she was like, I was looking for you. I lost your number and I was looking for you. And I was like, I was looking for you. She said,
Hmm.
you need to apply to the art program. And they're doing it again this year. So I'm like so excited to see what they have. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, I gotta be a part of this. I don't care what it is. And I
Mhm.
had all my material ready because
Yeah.
I planned on doing a solo show
Hmm.
with the canvases that I had, but they were like, you need to incorporate something that's interactive. And that was
Yeah.
the only thing that they asked for. I said, oh, I could do that. I can have people come in for X amount of time.
So we're
Oh,
looking at the blank part. This is, I mean, the
yeah.
exhibition
Oh
was
man.
called the Blank Canvas Exhibition. So,
Yeah.
so just so people who can't see what we're seeing, right? That there literally are blank canvases,
Hmm.
blank canvas being put
Hmm.
up on the walls of the
Hmm.
inside of APE, which is pristine.
Yes. Very,
Because
very.
shout out to Kathy Couch too. Um,
Yes. I love
Kathy
Kat.
Couch and Molly Maxner, who are co-directors, stewards of that space.
Yes.
It's a very clean space, right?
Very. And I
Very.
had to keep it clean. They made me sign a contract to make sure
Uh-huh.
I didn't damage anything. And I was on it.
Yep.
And
And
we ended up, oh
here's what
yes.
it looked like after you were
Yeah,
done.
yeah. You know how much duct tape I used to keep that floor clean? Every time there was a rip in that butcher paper, every time there was a hole, I said, I had that thing in my pocket ready. I'm like, y'all not
Yep.
messing up this floor. I don't care how many people come in here. You're not messing
Yep.
up this floor because I'm
And
responsible.
how many people came into the gallery in that
So
week?
we did almost, I think we did around like 1,000 people. Like we
Mhm.
had 1,000 people that came in and participated in this community event. And it was so crazy because I had actually skipped a day. I
Mhm.
skipped the day to go do a pop up in East Hampton. Shout out to Burns, who runs the Old Town Hall. I skipped
Yep.
the day because it
Yeah.
would have been a full week, but I was
Uh-huh.
like, I had already a prior commitment,
Yeah.
over at East Hampton. So
You're
I was,
double booked, Kali.
I
You were double
was, I
booked.
was, I was. But I think we would have done way more people if I didn't skip that day because people loved it. People were like,
Yeah.
"When are you gonna do this next year?" I'm like,
Yep. So what you did was you had blank canvases up. You started doing some stuff, right?
I
You
I
started painting,
tried, I tried.
and then you invited everyone from the street to
Yes,
come
to
in
come in. Yeah,
and start adding their own
yeah.
canvas
It's
in.
so funny because there were people that were coming in and they were like, I haven't painted in years, or like I used to paint
Uh-huh.
and I stopped doing it,
Yeah.
and I was just like, well, just paint. I don't know why you want to do it,
Just
like
do
you
it.
have the urge to do
Yep.
it, so just do it.
Yep. Just
And I've made so many relationships just off of that. It was great.
yep. Yep. Then a few months later, you were in this show, The
Yes, the
Miracle
Miracle
Machine,
Machine. That
with
was such a
Dr.
great
Bob.
project. All those guys
Yeah.
are great.
Yeah.
Kevin, Aaron, Jaja, Xavier, Omar, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Emaw, like
Dr. Ma,
they're all
yeah.
great dudes. Very
Yep.
talented, very skilled
Yep.
at the things that they do at a very high level. These are
Mm-hmm.
not like just run of the mill people you could just like, walk, run into at the supermarket. These people top notch. And
And
especially
all
Xavier,
very different.
very different. Very
All
different.
very different. This is a
Yeah.
show you had at the Augusta Savage
Augusta Savage,
Gallery.
UMass.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out to
UMass.
Ann. Ann, she was the fine director at the time. She was the
Mhm.
interim fine director at the time.
Yep. Yep.
Very great, very accommodating. Like
Mhm.
whatever you need, we got it. We got the budget. Like just if you want this, let's make it happen. And
Let's make it
it
happen.
was such a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being able to be with my brothers.
Yeah. Well, and you're always, and then I saw so many pictures of you in various school settings.
Yes.
You're always like working with young artists, which is
Yeah.
wonderful because
I try.
your energy, your enthusiasm is contagious. And
Mhm.
so then you're passing that on
Right.
to young people who, like yourself, have those experiences of feeling like an imposter. Like I'm creative, but I don't know what to do with it or how
Yeah.
to do it or how to go about the business of being an artist, right?
Yeah.
Like what does that mean?
Hmm.
That's a big endeavor. Like it's
Yeah.
very different doing the creative aesthetic side, but then you have to have the business side
Yes.
to
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? To be
Yeah.
considered a full-time artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, right?
This project, yeah, this project was great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. More chalk. This
Yeah.
this is
This was
Northampton Chalk Fest. Yeah.
yeah, this was
Festival,
great.
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Local burger. I love burgers.
Yes, right in
So
front of local burger.
I don't even think I picked my spot. Somebody put me in that spot, and I'm like, they know I love burgers. They
You
know.
got to
And
make the best of it. And then you
guess
start
where I
drawing
was?
burgers. Yes.
Guess where I was right after we finished? I was right in local burger.
Uh-huh.
Man,
I'm
we
sure.
ate so good. Oh man, I was
Well,
like
look
giving
at the
everyone.
free advertising. You're making all these chalk drawings around all their food.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Ugh. to dive.
So we got to talk a little bit because
Oh
before
yeah.
we got to talk about what actually is up on the walls right now.
Yes, let's talk about it.
I
So
mean,
excited.
what were you thinking? How?
I was thinking I have to do something so outlandish,
Mhm.
so unique, so niche, so out of pocket that
Mhm.
even if you tried to copy it, you couldn't.
You
That
couldn't.
was just what I was aiming for. And I was like, I have to make something that's gonna slap people and they're gonna be like, whoa, this exists. Like
Yeah.
people can do these things.
Yeah.
And that's basically what this project was, like the world famous Artoonist Art Heist. Like
Yeah.
I love the concept and the narrative that goes with it. You know,
Mhm.
you're gonna be inside of this escape room. You got to figure out these puzzles. You know, give people something to work for. You know, you get free art at the end. You know, all of the things that and elements of it that make it work. You know, and then
Yeah.
and just having the students be a part of it. Like it was just like, oh man, this is
Yes, I
this
was
is
going to
gonna
bring that
be
up because you really did. I mean, what I don't think people really understand or underestimate is the amount of time
that
that
goes.
goes into making art, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mean just like physical time. I mean like
Mm-hmm.
mental time, like
Mm-hmm.
the ideas percolating, how many
Yeah.
times we met.
Oh yeah,
Times
I think we
right?
met more. Like the span of time between us like meeting, it
Mhm,
it took me way less time to like actually come up with like
mhm,
the design of it. So it was
mhm.
like just making sure things were like the timing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then you saying yes. Oh my lord, if you would have said no to anything, I don't think it would have came out as good. And I'm
Oh,
just being honest. I'm like, I don't think people realize like the fact that you said yes to so many things, it made it turn out the way it did.
mhm,
And like it it only added to the project.
mhm.
Nothing you did took away from it. And that happens a lot. So like when
Yeah.
people say no for certain things or like in a creative position where it's like they can say no and it
Mhm.
affects, the project,
Yeah.
like it's like I'm not losing out. The people are losing out because they could have had something better. And you
Right.
did the thing that I hope most galleries do. They say yes, to some ambitious idea or something that's different. And APE did the same exact thing.
Mhm,
They were
mhm.
like, this is ambitious. We need something experimental. We need something fresh and new. It's
Yeah.
something different that's never been done before. Have I
Yeah.
done an escape room before? No. Have I
No.
built any puzzles before? No. But you said yes. You
Yeah.
said
Well,
yes in spite
it
of,
was a risk. It was a
yeah,
risk.
a
It was a
big
huge
risk. Yeah.
risk, right?
Yeah.
But then I was like, but that's what we're doing, right?
Yep.
We're wanting to take risks
Hmm.
to create something new.
Yeah.
So
And I think,
we were both taking risks on both sides.
yeah, I think it lends a hand to life, like,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how we have to take risks every day. And if you
Yes.
want to be comfortable,
Yeah.
right? You want to be
Yeah.
comfortable and there's no risk, there's also no reward,
Hmm.
you know? And I think about this project and like what it took for it to get to the position that it's in. And
Hmm.
it's like we had to risk a lot. Like I even told you in the beginning, I was like, look, I've never done it before, but if you give me a chance, if you give me a chance, I
Yeah.
will knock it out the park. I
Yeah.
will I will try my best to make this the best thing ever. And I
And
was like,
not,
I don't
you
even
did
care
not
about the budget.
disappoint. Yeah, you
I
did
have
not
everything.
disappoint.
I was like, yeah, I was like, I don't even care about the budget. Look,
Yeah.
look, don't pay me yet. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Let's make
Yeah.
this happen.
Well,
And
you
it
knocked it
went
out of the
from
park. I mean, the whole gallery has been transformed in a
yeah,
way that it's never been done before.
wow,
Really. I
wow.
mean, this is when we say the word unique, right? It's so cliche.
Mhm.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
unique, or this is
yeah.
immersive. No, it really is.
It really, yeah,
Because we've done, Donna Bell had her big, sort of mass
yeah,
mocha experiment in there too, but
yeah.
they're not the same. They're not,
No, yeah, no,
they're not the same kind
yeah,
of shows. It's very unique, very different.
yeah. What
Um,
this does
just
too,
watching visitors try to solve it,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It
it's
forces you
great.
to participate
It
because your
forces you to
curiosity,
participate. And
yeah,
if you don't want to participate, you
you
don't
don't
have
have
to
to.
walk through.
Yep.
You can be a voyeur.
Peruse,
You can just look at the art. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because art for art's sake, right? Like
yeah,
you can
yeah.
enjoy these really colorful, bold canvases with these
Hmm.
characters. There's also student artwork that was
Hmm.
made, and before the show even opened, right? You were working with students,
Yeah,
and they were creating stuff that's been incorporated and folded into it. And then
Yeah.
you're working with the gallery work studies with Brandon and Julia and Damaris, where they were very involved
Yeah.
in
Very. Yeah. Yeah.
aspects of, because you're one person and you can't
I
do
can't do
all
everything.
the things that
Can't.
were
I
needed
try.
in
I
this. I
try my
know.
hardest. But I can't. I know it's a tough realization. Something I gotta really like
Yeah, you can't
soak in.
do everything, right?
You
Like no
can't.
one can do everything.
It's a
But I think that what you came up with was really, um, well, like you said, like no one's gonna repeat this. This is,
nobody can, you can't touch it. It's almost untouchable because
yep.
you would have to pay a professional escape room person to come in and do
I
something.
was gonna say, and yeah, and it would be, yeah, yeah.
And this was a free exhibition. This is free for the
We're not
public.
charging, right? We're
And
not
you get
charging.
something at the end. You get some a free
Yes.
art if you
If
take
you,
the chance, you take the
yeah,
risk. You can
yes,
earn some free art from moi, yours
yes.
truly, right? And it's like, people, is I'm giving you so much. It just take it. It's like,
Mhm.
because at some point I know somebody's gonna be like, hey, could you build me an escape room? And we're gonna charge tickets. It might
Well,
happen.
maybe
It
you
might happen.
you have a book in you. You can, do you have an instruction
Yeah.
for it,
Do a
like
manual. Yeah,
a
I should do that. That's a
manual.
good idea. I'm gonna give me a manual.
Because you're always talking about different ways to market art, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's going to be your
That
next.
might be it. That might be, look, Sondra. I'm stealing that. Look, I'm gonna write this
So,
manual.
so as we're thinking about this, like how challenging this was and stuff, like what do you think about like what didn't work, or maybe what's your feelings on like failure, artistic failure?
You know what's so funny? We had so many hiccups in this. Like, we had breaks. We had, what was it, FAFSA throwing a monkey wrench, trying not to get the students in there working. It was
Mhm,
just like, then we had that break. It was like
mhm,
the day
mhm. Snow days.
before.
We had
Yeah,
snow
the
and
snow that
ice.
we hit so many bumps in the road.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to encourage anybody who's listening. You're gonna have bumps in the road, but you have to keep grinding.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, it's almost like you have to take on the challenge, right? There's a titan in front of you. I
Mhm.
don't care. Whittle him down, chop his ankles. Like, just keep hacking, because
Mhm.
in the end, it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, this has definitely been a project that I was like, this will be such a cool idea. And it became the actual thing because I did the in between part, right? Grinding and working. And despite everything that was happening and was going on, like the limitations, oh, you can't do it. You can't. Not to say you had limitations, but I'm saying stuff we couldn't control. I can't
Yeah.
control the
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
could, I would, but I can't control the snow. I
Yeah.
can't control how long I can be in the gallery. I can't control, you know what I'm saying? I like, but if I got a
I
shot,
did hear that you got kicked out one
I
night.
did. I didn't want to bring it up. I did. I because we had that break right before the opening, and I was like, I gotta get this done. And I was trying to be so. I was like, look, I'm a man on a mission. Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to kick me out because I'm not
Yeah.
leaving because I need
Yeah.
to get this done.
And we had a firm, opening.
Yeah,
I mean,
which was
February
great.
8th. It was
Yeah, which was
opening
great.
February 8th. I told you I'm unlocking the
Yeah,
doors. Whatever is on the wall,
yeah.
that's
That's
what
what
we're
it
going
is.
with for that day.
Yeah.
And it was like off to the races.
Yeah. And people, it's so funny because people were trying to solve it that day. They were like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna solve this. And it felt like they were trying to like beat me up. Like, they were like, I'm gonna beat you at your own game. I'm like, I actually made this easier, whether you believe it or not. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually made it
Well,
way
some
easier.
people it's been hard.
Yeah, they've been
Some
saying
people have been
that.
spending like, an hour.
I didn't, I've never built an escape room, so I didn't know how many puzzles and
Somebody
how
would
many
posted
things.
something yesterday that it took an hour and a half. Give yourself 90 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Tatiana Cole, shout out to her. She's a income strategist, and
Uh-huh.
she's been an avid follower of my work.
She,
She called
she,
me yesterday trying to get clues. I said, I'm not giving you no clues. You figure it out. Like, the only clue I'll give you is this one. Just something you actually need. This clue you need, this clue.
well, she and her friend who were in the gallery for
Yeah.
90 minutes at least,
Wow.
they walked out. They were able to get it. They
They,
solved
yeah.
they
And she was
solved the
she was
puzzle.
happy. She was so happy. Like,
Yeah.
and it made me feel so good that somebody who who appreciates art. And she was like,
Yeah.
this is something she was like, you need to take this on tour. I'm like, this was built for the Amy Carberry. Like, this wasn't
Oh,
built.
yeah.
Like, I don't think I could pick this up and then move it somewhere else because you gave me the floor plans and I
Yeah.
designed everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
Or
specific to a space.
right,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right. Could I
Yeah.
do it again? Probably, but it wouldn't be the
Sure. But
same.
it
It
wouldn't be the
wouldn't be
same.
the same, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, well,
It's
right,
almost
because
like,
we
yeah,
you even used the camera obscure room as part of
yes,
it too,
which
which
was,
that was the first time that's
oh,
happened ever.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, that was the first
And that
time.
was, like an impromptu, like I had an idea for it, but I didn't have that idea.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
came with it because I was in the space. And I
Right. And
was
I think
trying
that
so hard.
that's the good thing about being in a space too, is
Yeah.
having time to be in a gallery and
Right.
think about all the different components. And then while you're there, you're like, wait a minute, what if can I use that? Like, and
Mhm.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
and it worked,
And you
right?
didn't tell me no. See,
I didn't tell
some
you no.
other people be like, no, that's the camera obscure room. You
No.
don't really do anything in there.
But
You said
you know what? The camera
you were
obscure
moving
room
things.
has been there since 2013.
Yeah.
The camera obscure room will reopen again when the show comes
Yeah.
down. This show is on view until April 4th. The camera obscure room will reopen when the student show opens April 22nd.
Yeah.
It's like just trying to give everything space to grow and then,
Yes.
fertilize it and water it and see where it goes. And like, so I had no problem saying yes to you, Kali, and you're
Yeah.
very persuasive.
Yeah. I try. You have to be though. This is all a part of the game. I think
Yeah.
people get confused when they like, oh, it's just art. Like, no, it's also business. It's also,
Mhm.
this grind, this hustle.
Yep.
Because just because you get a no doesn't mean it's a no. It just
Yeah.
might not be the right time. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
other things on their schedule, and it's just,
Yeah. So
depending
we
on you.
we have the last call.
Yeah, the last call. Everybody, please.
Come
I,
out for the
please,
reception,
yes,
closing
please come
reception.
out. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think I
Another thing
definitely.
we never do, Kali. We don't usually have two receptions, but your show
Wow.
was up for 7 weeks,
Yeah. Ooh.
which
Woo.
is,
I need
yeah.
to write that
And
down.
we
Should
had
I
an
put that in my
opening
resume?
reception, and then we're having closing reception Saturday, March 29th, 11 to 1. And
Yes.
then the show after that event is open for 5 more days, that first week in April.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
better show up. We only
last
got a couple
call.
weeks left. Yeah, we only got a couple weeks left of it being up because I'm taking my
Yep.
stuff home. I'm taking all my stuff. So yeah, I can't mess it up.
So I do have a lot of people to thank. There's so many people to thank,
Yes.
because there were so many people involved, and
Hmm.
I probably am missing people who I rely on this campus.
Yeah.
I rely on in life, or um, but I was trying to keep it to like the people who are on campus,
Yeah.
my coworkers,
Yeah.
students, staff, other faculty. I mean, there's just so many people. These things do not happen in a vacuum, and you
Yeah.
don't create these shows in a
Hmm.
vacuum,
Yeah.
and I don't create these things on my own. And
Hmm.
so I just want to make sure we're giving all the shout outs and the thank yous and the
Yeah.
because it is an effort that requires many,
Yeah.
many different influences.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very thankful to everybody who helps out,
Yeah.
the gallery in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out Lorenzo Gaines, for Outside the Lines. He let me come on and promo this gallery, even though
Mhm.
it's a sports segment. He was like, "Have you played sports before?" I was like, "Yes." He was like, "All right, cool. We'll just use that to be a segue." I said, "All right, that works."
Yeah.
And shout out to Brianna Silver again. Love her to death. She helped me a lot during this project, whether people know it or not. Um, just all the work study students, great, very helpful. You
Yeah.
know, um, and I hope they figure out what they want to do with their lives because doing they're not gonna be able to do another escape room. So look,
Yeah. But working with you, Kali, and your generosity in spirit and just everything that you brought to stick this project over these many months. I include like going back more than a year,
yeah,
as you have been coming to campus and you've been engaging with me and you've been engaging with students, and they're going to take away this experience. They're going to take
mm,
real like life experience from that, right?
yeah,
And they're going to
thank
be
you,
able to take that and then transform that into something for themselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thank you
So,
for
and
thank
I
you.
can't thank you, Kali, enough for all of
No,
that,
no, I can't
because this
thank
is
you
your
because
work and this is, so this is a collaborative effort
yeah,
all around. And yeah, and I thank everybody for, if they're still listening on this call, thanking everybody for listening to another episode of Carberry Conversation Interviews with Kahli Hernandez.
woo,
on March 19th, 2025.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Woo.
thank you all. And Kahli, I'll see you at the gallery.
Yeah. I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Take
Wait.
care.
All right.
Bye-bye.